Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Gallop Out. That cut off awful quick. I am your host, Ryan Anderson, here with Jackson Muniz, my co-host, as always. We missed Kaylee Shapiro a lot this summer, but Saratoga keeps everybody extremely busy, so we understand. We hope to get her back in the next couple weeks. I know she's working her ass off up at Saratoga. But, Jackson, we got you today. We have some other special guests that we'll get to in just a second. But first, how are you?
Doing good. I'm a little bummed Kaylee's not here. I want to give her credit. I mean, her two horses and her two favorite horses in the entire world both threw down on Saturday, and I was wrong about both of them. So I wanted to give her credit, but there'll be plenty of time for that. And look,
there'll be plenty of time because I was wrong too. So we'll give her credit for that because the Grizzly Bear Torpedo threw it down with Darth Vader and refused to lose, and then Sovereignty went out and dominated that field. We look a little bit like fools for trying to pick Magnitude, who I think is still somewhere around the 316th pole. But hey, sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong. Closing weekend at Saratoga means Jockey Club Gold Cup. It means the Grade 1 spin away. It also means the Grade 1 hopeful, but they haven't drawn that card yet. So Jackson, you, me, and Kaylee might have to do something later on in the week once that card gets finalized. But we still have 4 graded stakes to talk about. We have the Prioress. We have the Flower Bowl, the aforementioned Spinaway, and the Jockey Club Gold Cup that was just drawn today. So we'll do something a little bit unique there. But to join us for the first half of this show, well, for the full show, before we bring in our second guest, she's new on the NYRA scene, but not new in horse racing. But she's given some great new edge to the Talking Horses and to the America's Day at the Races set up on Fox at Saratoga this summer. It's Megan Burgess. Megan,
hey.
Nice for you to join us.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me. I feel like I'm a part of the cool kids club over here. Thank you, guys. I'm my dungeon, my office over here in Kentucky.
That's okay.
I'm excited to chat some races.
I'm excited to talk races too. We're all in unique locations. You call yourself you're in a dungeon. I'm in whatever wooden fortress you want to call this place.
Usually in my car, so this is an upgrade for me. Usually I'm in the backseat of my Honda and just trying to make it work for the sound, but this is a bit of an upgrade.
I was gonna say I've seen your Honda live stream, so that's funny.
I got told the service in there wasn't too great, and I sounded like I was underwater. So I got told that a few too many times. I got to switch up the location. Make it work. So far so good over here.
Speaking of being in the car, we got JD Fox in the chat. JD, like clockwork. Jackson not in the car. What's the special occasion? We're not sure, JD. But we've got some other people in the chat. We got Rubens here. We got Katie as always. Katie is just always. She was here at 3:46, so 14 minutes early. And then Ed properly calling us out for why we would bet against Sovereignty. Yeah, I mean, look, we tried to get a little bit
again come November, so I feel good about it.
Me too. Me too. So if we're wrong that many times, then we got to just give that guy his flowers and move on. But hey, that's what racing's about. We got to have some fun. Megan, how has this first summer up on the set at Saratoga been for you?
Oh, it's been a dream come true. It's annoying because I tell everybody that it's a dream come true, and they're just, but yeah, I wasn't expecting it. I will say, if you would have told me at the beginning of this year, I would have covered Whitney, Travers, CCA Oaks Day. I mean, I would have, my head would have blown off of my body. But yeah, I did some freelance work with Churchill and Twin Spires, and that's kind of how the NYRA team and I got connected through just kind of the visibility of doing some of those jobs covering Derby. So I was right there on the Sovereignty bus from the start, for everything. So if I would have been on this show, I would have yelled at you both for picking against him too, right there with Kaylee, because I've been a huge fan of his for a long time. But no, it's been an incredible summer. It's, the A team. Maggie will join us later on, but yeah, no, it's been Andy, Maggie, Lafitte. Everybody on the team is just, it's like, honestly, like being on the Yankees, and you're there and you're learning from the best, and the producers are the best. The team is the best. So it truly couldn't have been a more incredible summer. Hopefully we can keep rolling and into this weekend, the closing weekend and beyond. But no, it's been definitely the best year of my life. Absolutely, without a doubt. I never really thought I would be able to kind of do the things that I've been doing. Still have a full-time job in Kentucky. You can see my office. So very grateful that they let me kind of pursue this. And but yeah, it's been an amazing opportunity, and couldn't ask to work with better people for sure.
That's awesome to hear. And I think you're speaking to the right crowd, Jackson. I think it's fair to say you and I have also had quite the whirlwind of a year where, everything happened super quick, and it's been awesome to be along for the ride. So we're happy you're on that same kind of wavelength, and everything's been going great. I'm excited to get into this weekend's card. Obviously, Saratoga coming to a close is a bummer. That is
I'm devastated. I've been up there for 5 weekends this summer, so I feel like I've lived there this summer, but I've also been commuting back and forth to Kentucky. But at this point, I'm like, Saratoga feels like home now. But
I love to hear that. You've been sharing the desk with somebody that Jackson and I are pretty familiar with out here on the West Coast in Michelle Yu. Selfishly, I'm very happy that Michelle will be back on the West Coast because she is fantastic.
I'm not. I want her to come back. I love her.
Obviously, Michelle is the absolute greatest. She hosts something on the West Coast called Daybreak at Del Mar, which is the morning workout show. I had to fill in for her place, and I am not nearly as talkative or awake at that hour as she is. So I'm happy that she is back and filling those shoes, because she really is second to none in all spots like that, with the way that her commentary just fills the gaps. So happy she's back out here.
She's also around horses, Ryan, whereas you and I could not tell a horse apart if we even tried. I mean, they could have their whole names printed on their forehead, but we still wouldn't be able to tell who's who. So,
that's true. Out there in the mornings, right? You kind of have to really know your peeps out there, which, I did the morning work show for the Kentucky Derby, and it was interesting because, you get caught up in the Derby. Everybody has their saddle towels. They have specific training times and all that, but it's also kind of a showcase of all these shipping horses that you see. There's Raging Sea and Randomized, just kind of quietly under the radar working. So that was kind of a fun experience to get to do the morning works deal and all of that good stuff. And it is, you kind of have to really kind of tattoo them in your mind a little bit of how they are and their quirks and stuff in the morning, so you don't miss them. But a lot of the times you see him work and you're like, yeah, that's Nisos, come on, like we can't miss that guy. But
I was going to say, Nisos is one of 3 horses on the grounds who I actually know who they are by their recognition. The other would be Journalism, because of how he moves. He's just so, fluid, and it's easy to kind of, it's easy to see him. And the other one is Brant, because of the Baffert saddle towels, and he's the only gray in that stable. So, those are pretty much the only 3. Everybody else, you're going to catch me guessing. But sometimes I'll get fed the horses from up top. So, anyway, that's just a little bit about out west at Del Mar, but I'm excited to get into the first of 5 graded stakes that we'll cover 4 graded stakes. They haven't drawn the hopeful. Sorry. Counting, as you know, Jackson, is where I go south. So we'll throw the past performance. One of these days, man. We'll throw the past performances up. First race we'll talk about is going as race number 7 on Saturday. It's the Grade 3 Prioress for the 3-year-old fillies. Picks are up on the screen. I went 1-3-5. Jackson went 4-5-3, and Megan went 5-3-4. So we all kind of have similar ideas. I think it's safe to say that the race kind of goes through the 3 and the 5 in Long Neck Paula and Delightful Claire. We'll start with the 5. We'll start with you, Megan. You picked the number 5 Long Neck Paula on top. This one trained by Wesley Ward, written by Dylan Davis.
Punch play for my mom, whose name is Paula. I've always been a fan of this horse. I thought you're exactly right about Delightful Claire, that monster figure. She actually ran a tick faster than the Grade 1 test. So she is a legit filly who will be very formidable in this race if she can come anywhere close to the form she showed there second time out. But Long Neck Paula, last time out, I thought Indy Bay, she took all the pressure. She was on the front end of that, pretty quick pace, and she managed to hold on, I thought, considerably well to a talented filly in Indy Bay. 2 back again. She just always shows up, and she was pretty precocious at 2. You see those 2 stakes wins for her on the resume, and I just think that in terms of just her experience, being able to potentially handle pressure, I thought she was extremely interesting here. She's been working very well, and you're right. She just have to get a little, honestly, as far as her performance last time out, she was a bit wide and caught. So I just think she's maybe due for a potentially better trip. But the thing that I do believe to be potentially a vulnerability for her that, made me maybe think more about Delightful Claire is, her vulnerability on the front end, potentially with a horse like Rojo Rita. But she's been able to kind of stalk as she did in the Bowman Mill and sit just to tick off of it like she did it too. So I'm potentially hoping to see her be able to get a tactic more in that range versus maybe taking control on the front end, letting Safi's horse go and making her trip that way. But she's certainly fast enough in my books to compete with the horse like Delightful Clear. And I think that that's the key here in going against the favorite.
Yeah, a lot of great points you brought up there. One of which was, Long Neck Paula maybe being a little bit vulnerable, but she has shown some ability to kind of rate that speed and pass horses and, sit off of horses as she runs. Jackson, you gave the number 5 Long Neck Paula a little more love than Delightful Claire. Why did you pick this horse in second? And then go ahead and take us into the 4 Stone Smuggler.
Yeah, well, she just has the post position edge, right? I mean, obviously Rojo Rita's going to go. Long Neck Paula's on the outside, and Claire's kind of stuck in between those two, and it's not an easy position to be in when you're stuck between 2 speed horses who are both very, very quick themselves. So I think just by that, Long Neck Paula's probably supposed to get the best trip in here, depending on what Praying goes, because Praying to her outside is also very fast too. So it's kind of interesting how this race unfolds. But I do think the Jersey Girl was a pretty good race. Annie Bay didn't come back to run that great last time, but she came right back and won at Charlestown last week and kind of validated that. Beauty Reigns came back to finish second in the test, I believe. So that was a pretty good field she ran against. She's on the outside. I mean, there's definitely things to like. 8-5, don't love it, but I do prefer her more to Claire, who I have a couple questions about.
That's very fair. Stone Smuggler is a horse you picked on top, trained by
Can I
Jorge
just say that I
Abreu.
love that you picked Stone Smuggler?
We're going to see. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. No, look, as I said, there's a lot of speed. There's 4 horses that are always on the front end, and she has been on the front end before, but she's not going to be in the lead in this spot. There's no way she's going to be as fast as some of those other horses. She's going to be coming from off the pace in this spot. And if they go way too fast up front, I do trust her a lot more than I trust the inside horse to come picking up the pieces late. And look, there's things she has to overcome, like the layoff, and she does have to get faster. But I think with her specifically, the numbers don't matter as much, because if she's going to win this race, it's because they go too fast up front and they're coming back to her, and she's going to be able to pick up the pieces. So I do like her quite a bit in this spot. She has been scratched a couple times this summer, which is a bit of a concern. But again, you're hoping that this pace just completely collapses and she's able to pick them up later.
Megan, anything to add on Stone Smuggler as you picked this runner in third?
Yeah, I honestly, same as Jackson, I really wanted to make a case for this filly. Unfortunately, I did I'm a very big buyer, speed figure girl, and combined with the layoff, it made me a bit hesitant about her running fast enough to meet these fillies off the bench. But Jorge Abreu, 33% overall as far as this type of layoff, so he's certainly capable of getting them tuned up before that. And I've liked some of the visuals of her latest works. I wanted to pick this filly on top. I'm not going to lie to you. I wanted to take a stand. Ricardo's been riding so well. He's going to be able to really hopefully gauge just how quickly they go, which I do think they are going to go. And I did. I wanted to really make a case for her. I put her in third there. And I think that she will be the most likely closer. I agree with Jackson as far as picking up pieces if this does fall apart, and they do go.
Yeah, Jackson, you brought up a point that the number 4 Stone Smuggler had been scratched a couple times. A couple times before this race. So that gave me a little bit of cause for pause. But real quick, we'll touch on Delightful Claire before I talk about the rail runner in the grade 3 Prioress here. Phil Bauer, I picked this horse in second. I mean, Megan, you mentioned this runner was just a tick faster than they ran in the grade 1 test a few races later on this same card. So, she being a maiden, obviously she was probably going to end up in a maiden race instead of the grade 1. But you have to think Phil Bauer thinks the world of this filly, and she put in a stellar performance last time. She won really nicely. She's had a very, easy trip. But that being said, Phil Bauer has fired with just about everything. He's shipped up to Saratoga this meet. He's having a great meet as always. I didn't want to pick this one on top because I think repeating that effort versus winners for the first time, since breaking your maiden, that's definitely a big ask. But I do think she's really talented. And again, the Rigney runners seem to really love Saratoga with every horse that he sends up here. And now I'll talk about the rail runner, Flat Out Time, trained by George Weaver. Jackson, you said you didn't really trust this filly coming in here, but bred by not this time, trained by George Weaver, ridden by Kendrick Carmouche, second off the bench here. If you watch that last workout on August 23rd, I thought it was really sharp. It's on XBTV. It looks like she just kind of found her form and almost like a light bulb angle. So I wanted to take a chance with her. I know she's going to have to get a little bit faster, but the time form numbers are a little bit stronger than Delightful Claire. And Jackson, I know I speak for you and me. We kind of go off time form, maybe a little bit more than Beyer, but we use them both, to compare to each other. And I'm certainly a big relier on Beyer speed figures as well. But I like that she faced winners last time out, so she's not, facing winners for that first time. She's second off the bench. George Weaver has been very sharp with all of his runners. Coming from Delaware Park, this is going to be a big step up in class and definitely going to face a big test. But I love Kendrick Carmouche. It's been the summer of Santana for the most part, but Kendrick Carmouche has had a very, very nice meet in his own right, winning at about 16%. Go ahead, Jackson.
I'm impressed, Brian. You've added workouts videos to your toolbox, huh? That's a new
one. Look at that, man. Look at that, man. Well, I got to thank Saratoga for that because now they're available on XBTV and they're much easier to
find. They are. So. No excuses. Yeah,
no
excuses. For sure. It's a great tool.
Exactly. It's a fantastic tool. I'll use them out west because they've been out here. But, now with the addition of them being at Saratoga, it is fantastic. And I drink to that. So I think that we've talked about there being a lot of speed in this race. And I think this is just another horse that could certainly pick up those pieces late. 10-1 is good enough price for me. I'll take a chance on this one picking it up, but this race definitely goes through the number 3 and the number 5 in Delightful Claire and Long Neck Paula.
The one thing with the one is every horse that come out of that race has regrets like 15 points on the Beyer. That was the one hesitation I had about her numbers. But again, she's going to be coming from way out of it, so we'll see.
That's fair. We'll move on to race number 10, the Flower Bowl. We'll wrap up the prioress real quick. I went 1-3-5, Jackson 4-5-3, Megan 5-3-4. Going now to the grade 2 Flower Bowl Stakes. We're going 1 3/8 over the turf course. It's going as race number 10 this Saturday. I'll throw our picks up on the screen. And all right, I went 8-5-2. Jackson went 3-1-8, and Megan went 8-2-4. Megan, we started with you last time, and Jackson's the outlier this time. So we're going to start with you, Jackson. The number 3, Long Ago, trained by Bill Morey and ridden once again by Ricardo Santana.
Yeah, with this filly, you gotta hope, or this mare, I should say, you gotta hope that the last time she just hated the surface. She just hated the wet going. And that isn't totally, far-fetched. You look at what she did overseas. A lot of her poor efforts came on the stopper going. So maybe that really was just what happened last time. Because I thought her race 2 back at Churchill Downs was quite good. It was against a pretty good field. Pinup Betty had won a couple of stakes races in a row. She kind of did all the dirty work, made the first move into a really hot pace, and hung on pretty nicely, finished 3rd against that group. Thought that was a really good effort that day. Obviously, she just handles the distance. She won 3 back going this far and won that race pretty easily. I know she got an easy lead, but she also kicked away from that field late. So I like to see that. I just think there's things to like. I think you're supposed to be a little forgiving of that last effort. She was only 3-1 in that spot, and she's not a lead and not a need to lead type in a field where I do think there are a lot of speed horses, or at least a lot of horses who were on the lead last time. So I think she's pretty versatile. I think she's going to get the distance, and I think she's the right price in here at 6-1. Got to beat La Mahana, who's obviously in really, really good form, but I do think this is a good alternative to the favorite.
Yeah, hey, Long Ago, I won't knock it too much. I know I didn't pick this horse in my top 3, but that doesn't mean that she can't win. We'll talk really quickly about La Mahana. I didn't have this one in my top 3. You didn't either, Jackson. Megan, you have her in 3rd. I felt like maybe that last out effort, while she is the horse to beat, I thought maybe that last out effort, again, maybe she really liked the soft going. And, if she goes back to those prior numbers, it definitely puts her in the mix, and she's a very talented horse. Miguel Clement has had a fantastic season since taking over for his late father, Christophe. But I wanted to try and beat this mare in here, but you picked her 3rd. Why don't you speak on her for a second before we go to the far outside?
Yeah, for sure. I almost moved her 2nd, but I kind of have a hunch about Amber Cascade, who I decided to, use here as well. I think she's very formidable in this race. She's a horse that, yes, you're going to have to swallow a short price, and sure, she just could have been a beneficiary of the yielding course last time out, real boggy, and she just took him home in that race. And while I don't know how much I trust that Beyer speed figure, and if she's going to obviously repeat that is a big question now on the firm going, I think that I agree with Jackson. Everybody kind of scratches their head about some of the slower paces in New York turf racing. And in this particular race, I don't believe that will be the case. I think that we're going to get some honest pace here. Lots of horses are going to want to get on the lead, which I love it. I love to see pace in some New York turf races. So I'm hoping these horses are going to go and make this a nice pace. We're going to get some pace in here. I saw that pace. I was like, yes, we got a little bit of pace. pace in a marathon turf race. I think it'll make it really interesting. And she's been a very tactical sword. She's been able to sit some nice trips. She gets Kendrick Carmouche aboard, who's just been having an incredible meet, especially with Miguel Clement teaming up with Deterministic and just really reading, especially on the turf, his races really right. And, I think that she's just always a right there kind of filly. I think it's a mistake if you're really going in on your multi-race sequences to leave her out of the equation. And yes, she's a short price, but I also think that there might be some distance concerns with some of the other horses at some shorter prices in this race. Be Your Best, one of them, in my opinion. So she's just one that is just such a solidified commodity when it comes to this distance. And I think that she's shown before the firm course is no problem. I think she's going to be very formful here. I liked her last work. I just think that she's the hard knocking type as far as, I went against her as a win candidate, but I do think that she's going to be right there as she always is.
Yeah, she's certainly a must include in those horizontal tickets. Those are some excellent points you brought up. And hey, if she comes out and backs up that Glen Falls race, everybody here is running for second, probably by a distance. And you mentioned it. We haven't really talked about the pace scenario, but it does look like there is a handful, an abundance of pace in here. I was also thrilled when I was looking through this race. That is, again, not something we're super used to, especially going this long distance. Jackson, does that dissuade you at all from the 3? Because clearly not.
No, I'll just say it doesn't dissuade me from the 3. I meant to text you the 4 in second. I don't know why I have the 1. And I checked our text. It was my fault. It wasn't yours, so my bad. Look, she's way the horse to beat. Even if you think that last number moved her up that much, if it was 10 points too fast and it's only 94, she's still the horse to beat in this spot. So nothing wrong with that. The race 2-back is the one I liked because they crawled the entire way around there, and she should not have won that race. I bet No Show Sammy Joe, and I was celebrating by counting my money at the quarter pole because there was absolutely no way this horse was going to get beat, and she won very, very easily. Like, I could not believe that No Show Sammy Joe lost that race, and La Mahana was really impressive that day. So she's way the horse to beat. She's supposed to get some pace. I just liked the horse that did have a better price.
Yeah, I remember you blowing up our group chat after No Show Sammy Joe lost that race. That was brutal. We'll go to the outside, and we'll stick with you, Megan. The number 8, Bellezza, trained by Miguel Clement, ridden by Jaime Rodriguez, who is in from out of town, but rode her 3-back in the Shepherd's Bay. What did you like about this, Philly enough to pick her on top?
Oh, wow. Yeah, still almost mare. I love this horse. I think that she's caught some soft courses. The real boggy course last time out we saw in the Glens Falls that was to the advantage of La Mahana, and then she again in the New York. I thought she ran incredibly well, all things considered, in that race. She just couldn't quite get there to some really nice. I mean, come on, you get beat by She Feels Pretty, and she also beat Beach Bomb the start prior. So I feel like that was just such a formidable race for her in a grade 1 that puts her right in the mix here, especially if her stablemate gets bet down shorter, which I do think she will, just off of people seeing that giant figure. I think she's just so logical here. Like La Mahana, she's going to have that tactical advantage as far as being able to sit off of the pace. And listen, she gets time. A lot of these riders are get Classic Day, I believe. No, this isn't. Hold on. Maybe I'm somewhere else. No, this is Pacific Classic Day. So some of these jockeys are going to be out of town, and I like the rider assignment here. I thought that he rode this horse very well 3-back in the Sheepshead Bay, and that was, I think, one of Christoph's last stakes wins before his passing. So sentimental there for him. And she just shows up. I think that she's, in terms of her speed figures, just ultra the type that I think trips out here, gets back to the firm course. And to me, the most logical on paper. And I just loved her 3-back effort. To me, that puts her right in the mix. And I'm hoping that she can kind of turn the tables on everybody in this race for sure.
You and I share a lot of those same opinions. I think this is the filly that I want between the two Clement runners. I think La Mahana is going to get bet down a lot off that last race. And if she does kind of go back 10 figures or so, that would put Bellezza right as, kind of a co-horse to beat. She had a little bit of trouble, not a super significant amount in my opinion, but a little bit in the Glen Falls last time out. In the New York, you mentioned who she ran behind, and She Feels Pretty in Beach Bomb. And then 3-back, she wasn't super far off of it, but she closed into a very slow pace in the Shepherd's Bay. And again, all those things they point me in her direction. I think she might float up. You mentioned some jockeys are out of town because Pacific Classic Day. It's also Kentucky Downs, and they're running for $1 bajillion out there. So that's going to take some of those top jockeys. So, you get a rider who at least is familiar with her, rode her in her stateside debut 3 back at Belmont at Aqueduct. So we'll come in here, and again, it's probably going to get some of that pace and makes all the sense on figures. Next one we'll talk about Jackson. Oh, no. Jackson, anything to add on the 8 then? No, we did it.
Nope, you guys covered it pretty good.
Cool. Megan, we'll go right back to you as we talk about the number 2, Amber Cascade. I picked this one in third. I definitely have a lot of respect for her, mainly because of that trainer going this marathon distance. But you seem to like her a little bit more, picking her in second.
Yeah, can you hear me guys okay? It was cutting out on me a bit.
We can.
Can you hear me okay?
It's like there's like a maybe
3-second
delay, but we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. And, talking into the void will be fine, right? I think that this is a really interesting spot for this horse. Amber Cascade for Mike Maker. He does this. He gets these horses from obscurity from the claiming ranks. Does so a lot with Flying P, and just really cover he's training. And I feel like that horse, I want to do something with that horse. And when I see it in the claiming box, I'm going to attack. And that's something that's been really useful for him. And really seen him. He's taken horses, I believe, but Therapist was a claimer kind of in that same realm and went on to win a grade 1. So to me, he's the perfect man for this kind of job. I love her going long on the turf. She's got a lot of stamina in her pedigree. Free Drop Billy, I believe, is a sibling to a group Dam is concerned. The Dam is also a horse that managed to win the Brooklyn going long. So I thought that she was just, as far as the things that you might not see at first glance on paper, was extremely interesting. And the way she finishes some of her races gave me some encouragement as far as her being able to get the distances, and then in combination with the pedigree, I thought she was interesting. And while, yes, her only turf race comes at that mile distance, I think that was just a starting point for her to see if she took to the surface, and now being able to extend, I think could be something she enjoys. That's going to be the big intangible question. But if she enjoys it and she breaks out and gets, she's also going to a tactical sort that's going to be able to sit a trip from the inside, hopefully gets out. Jose Lezcano, the perfect man for that job on the turf. I think that she's incredibly interesting up there at a price.
I agree. Jose Lezcano, one of the most underrated turf riders that the New York Colony has. I thought it was a little interesting that Amber Cascade showed up in this spot. I would have thought with her running a winning race in the Kentucky Downs kind of preview day that they have out at Ellis, that they would send her over to Kentucky Downs to run in the next division of that race that they'll run in the next week or so here. But I feel like maybe Flying P is kind of going after the training title as they tend to care about, and she certainly fits versus this group. And with a trainer like Mike Maker going long on the turf, that is only a further vote of confidence. Megan, you mentioned the pedigree. Free Drop Billies can run all day. She's got enough stamina, and if there's a guy I trust to have a horse ready going that distance, it's Michael Maker. So I'm with you on the 2. Last horse we'll quickly talk about before we go on to our first of 2 grade 1s. I want to talk about the other Miguel Clement trainee in the number 5, In Time. Another one I think has shown a little bit of versatility from coming from off the pace. Another one that's not going to be real close to the lead as they stretch out. Third start of this one's form cycle had a comeback race versus Optional Claiming Company where she didn't get a whole lot of pace to close into at all. She actually lost to long ago. Jackson's top pick in that comeback race came right back out going 1.5 miles and took them wire to wire, but they weren't going super fast that day. And that was one of those marathon races that just kind of seemed devoid of pace, but she held on gamely, which I like to see. She has a lot of ability. If she can get back to those races she ran last year, she's going to have to take a big step up because of the class she's facing. But Dylan Davis, he had the kind of summer to remember last year at Saratoga. If he can kind of refine some of that for him, he's had a good year this summer. But I feel like if he can really kind of get the setup from the pace that appears to be prevalent on paper, I think the number 5 In Time could factor underneath. I don't know that I think of her as a big-time win candidate, but I might want to key her underneath in some exotic bets. So I thought the 5 In Time deserved a little bit of a closer look.
Real quick, Ryan, can we talk about the pace? Because are we so sure that anyone is going to go with the 7 in the spot? I mean, doesn't it feel like the 7's going to go, and there's a good chance everyone just takes, and they just kind of let her go and do her thing on the front end. I mean, she's clearly the fastest.
I
horse
hope not.
coming out of
Marks
Soul
McQueen
races.
needs to get out there from the inside.
She
I was
does.
gonna
She
say, I
needs
think-
to, but I don't know.
Like, I know on time form, Be Your Best looks faster than Marksman Queen, but I think if Luan Machado has that intention from the inside, knowing that is how Marksman Queen does her best running, I think that might result in maybe a bit of a pace early. Well, I guess we'll see. Who is more determined to make the front. I don't think that they'll necessarily duel, but I think they could kind of go at it and sort themselves out through that first half mile, and that might be enough. We've seen all the runners that we've talked about that come from off the pace. We've seen them all close into slow paces before. So I think they'll, at the very worst, get a moderate pace here. And I do think that there are some real distance limitations on the number 7, Be Your Best, as she has not been as good going this, farther distance. She got the 9 furlongs at Santa Anita, but Jackson, you and I know the turf course at Santa Anita, the turf course at Del Mar, you can typically stretch that distance a little farther than you might at a Kentucky grass or a New York grass course.
Well, she's also won and finished third at the distance before. I'm not picking her. I'm just saying, I don't think she's completely impossible in this spot.
No. She beat your best friend, No-Show Sammy Joe.
Yeah, the good version of No-Show Sammy Joe. She was good last year. This year, she's been alone. We good. Let's go. Next race.
All right. We'll wrap up the Grade 2 Flower Bowl. My picks are 8-5-2, Jackson 3-4-8, Megan 8-2-4. We'll move on to one of the 2 Grade 1s we'll cover today. It's going as race number 11. It's a 7-furlong event. It's the spin away for the 2-year-old fillies. I'll throw our picks up on the screen. I went 8-2-4. Jackson went 8-1-5. Megan went 8-5-1. This race clearly goes through your morning line favorite in the number 8, Tommy Joe. Real quick, before we talk about the 8 Tommy Joe, let's talk about the other horse, and a horse that I was surprised was not the morning line favorite, in the number 4 Mythical, who is 3 for 3, and the 2-back race, I think, dominates this field. Jackson, were you also perplexed that she wasn't the morning line favorite?
I was a little surprised, but, obviously all 3 of us picked the 8. We texted Kaylee. Kaylee liked the 8. I watched a couple different videos talking about this race. They all picked the 8. So clearly David Aragona knows what he's doing, because everyone's picking the 8 over the 4. So
he does. I'll never question David Aragona.
Oh, yeah. He's the best. I do think there's a chance this horse does drift up quite a bit. And a lot of it's going to depend on where the 7 runs. The 7 is cross-entered on Friday, and she is one of the speed horses in this race. So if she comes out of this race, that's going to really open things up for Mythical a lot more than if the 7 is entered. I don't know if it affects Tommy Joe's chances too much, because she's very speedy as well, but that's just something to keep an eye on for this race for sure.
Yeah, I'm happy you kept. I'm happy you gave a shout out to the number 7 Steer Clear, because she is entered in a maiden event on Friday. Megan, we'll start with you. The consensus top choice in the group is the number 8 Tommy Joe. You obviously, off that debut race, she dazzled for all of us. So anything to add on why you love this horse?
Well, I was talking to one of my friends, and we were talking about this maiden race where Vajra, Tennessee Belle, some of those really nice horses that were coming into that race. And it was actually my birthday that day. And I was like, guess what? The spin-away winner comes out of this race. Want to bet? We didn't bet, but I saw the race, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm onto something there. But yes, when you see her workouts before her debut, and she's just that poor rider, you feel bad for his arms, because he's just like, he's got so much horse under him, and then breaks out in that kind of performance, and the way she did beat a really solid field, in my opinion. Tennessee Belle comes back to win. Academia, we will see run on Friday at Saratoga, who will be competitive there. We'll see if she flatters that race even more. I believe Vajra is going to come out of that race and try turf on this weekend as well. But this horse, Spencer Farm homebred, beautiful pedigree, into mischief filly, who honestly, when you look at her at first glance, maybe her scope might even suggest that she will go even a bit further. And she gets an extra furlong here, which I think is not going to be an issue for her whatsoever. And all the credit to Mythical and what she's been able to achieve. But this horse and the way she's been running just looks like an absolute, like gel ignite sitting. And the way she's been training in the mornings coming out of that effort, with these 2-year-olds, you're always kind of trying to figure out, okay, do we recognize this buyer? How good was that race? Where is she at now? I really like to see horses that don't like getting beat. And even in her works, I saw one of her videos, she was kind of, and these kinds of horses, especially Todd Pletcher, he's not looking for them to just speed it out every single time. He wants to kind of see him carry that fitness and maintenance and those sorts of things in the mornings. And that was kind of the objective coming out of that race to me, as they've already gotten her pretty fit. And you should have, I encourage, if you can, go back and watch that video, because she gets a sense of other horses near her. And she's like, hell no, I'm not letting these horses go around me. And you can see that she's got that, I'm not going to let these horses beat me type way about her. And I think that's just so, those are kind of the intangibles in a race like this and these kinds of juveniles. And yes, you're going to have to swallow a short price. And sure, there's other horses in this race that I do believe could take a step forward and beat her. Mythical has already run a figure and has shown us that she's very much a quick and talented filly. But I think that from what she's shown us, especially from, like I mentioned, some of those intangibles, the competitive grittiness that I see in her, judging from just how highly her connections have spoken of her, I do anticipate that she's going to be very, very lethal in this spot.
Definitely. Tommy Joe showed just put on a dazzling display on debut to pass horses. And you mentioned she kind of had that look in her eye when she saw other horses. She just was like, no, I'm okay. I'm going to actually run away from all of you. I think the pace scenario in here is interesting, especially if the 7 Steer Clear enters. The number 1, Ornalaya. Jackson, you picked this one in second. Megan, you in third. But our next guest has this as her top pick. She's, I think, simply put, the hardest working and just the Swiss Army knife of NYRA. She's either on a horse's back, out interviewing jockeys. She's on the Talking Horses desk. She's doing paddock side interviews. There's nothing that she hasn't done. And our guest is Maggie Wolfendale. Maggie, welcome back. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely. We're in the middle of our grade 1 spin-away conversation. We just finished up speaking about the number 8, Tommy Joe, and we're just getting down to the rail horse in your top pick for the race. It's the number 1, Ornalaya, off that really nice debut performance.
Yeah, no, look, I wholeheartedly respect Tommy Joe. I've been doing one of the other things in that Swiss Army knife is doing 2-year-old reports, and Tommy Joe was one of the 2-year-old reports. And I knew when I walked up to Todd Pletcher, I said, please talk to you about Tommy Joe. He's like, yeah, sure. I usually don't get that reaction from you, so I think I picked the right one. So that was not necessarily a surprise to me. And literally, the only reason why I'm picking Ornalaya is because I think she's going to offer a little bit of a better price. And I felt like she was one that's really going to improve. Not that Tommy Joe won't improve with more ground, because I really think she will. But I think Ornalaya will appreciate the 7 furlongs that she gets. And, I spoke to the guy who has her, that bred her actually. And he's like, I love what you do. You dogged my filly the other day in the paddock. And I was like, bro, like, what are you talking about? And he's like, Ornalaya. And I'm like, oh, right. I did say she has absolutely no pedigree, and I have no idea why they paid 1.1. But I get it once I saw her. And she is just a big, just a lot of, scope to her. And she just looked more like a 3 or 4-year-old filly as opposed to a 2-year-old. She's just that far along. So whether she goes on or not, that remains to be seen. That's down the line. But as of now, with this 2-year-old crop, I really feel like she is one that is only going to get better as this year goes on.
Yeah, she showed a lot of talent on debut. I believe that was on not Travers Day, on Jim Dandy Day.
No, Whitney Day.
Whitney Day. Oh, so close. I knew it was one of the 3, but oh well.
At the end of the day.
They all blend together. The season goes by so fast. But yes, that was a really competitive field. We see Steer Clear comes out of that race to run hopefully in here. That's the next question I want to pose for you, Maggie. Is Steer Clear is definitely a pace presence for going along with the number 4 Mythical, your second choice. Do you think that there's other pace outside of Steer Clear that will still set it up for Ornalaya? Or do you think that maybe she's just, as you mentioned, she's so big, she looks like a 3 or 4-year-old out there. Do you think she's just able to kind of, run by those based on her physical stature?
So I think she is not going to have as much of a problem as second time starters usually do at the start. She just kind of broke a step slow. They closed the door on her, and that it kind of makes a horse back off a little bit. But with that more professional, mindset going into a race, then therefore she should break a bit better. I hope, the one post isn't necessarily doing her any favors, but I really think there's a lot of upside. Now, is there a world in which we see Mythical just run everybody off their feet? Yes. I do still feel as though she is the fastest horse in this race when it comes to being early. And I just don't see it with her physically. That's what continues to hold me back and taking Mythical in this spot, because let's face it, she has run the fastest races of anybody in here at times, especially with her Tremont. She's small filly, but she has an enormous stride. How far she's able to take that stride remains to be seen, but she's answered every question so far with a resounding yes.
I love it. That's an excellent insight into Mythical. Yeah, you're down seeing a lot of these horses. And as far as the two, I can't remember any of these 2-year-olds, at least you saying on the Fox show or the NYRA show, that any of these guys were, or any of these girls were head cases down in the paddock. They seem to be okay for the most part.
For the most part, they are. I will say, who was I looking at? My notes were like, there's a possibility you might be a little silly. Yes, Steer Clear. Steer Clear, she was a bit green in the paddock and a bit wound up, but then once she got out on track, Ricardo Santana gave her a big warm-up, expended that nervous energy, and she was much more straightforward once she got out on track, which is often what you see. They're used to being on the racetrack. They go there every day. Going to the paddock is a little bit of a novelty when they're that in.
No doubt. I think Steer Clear is an interesting entrant in here. I think, while she showed a lot of talent in that race that Ornellaia won, she kind of held on to the pace when the rest of it, almost pretty much collapsed all the other pace in that race. So she showed a lot of ability. I'm interested to see how she does second time out, whether it's as the favorite in the maiden race on Friday or as a bit of a price in here. She at least projects to get a pretty clean trip, and if she can improve, she's certainly going to be a big threat. We'll move on now to the Jockey Club Gold Cup, which they just drew the race. So I don't necessarily have the past performances in front of me, but the next best thing is I just have a banner that has all the horses in all the places where they need to go. I'll throw the picks up on the screen here in just a moment as we're going 1.25 miles. I went 3-1-9. Jackson is anybody but Mindframe, and Megan went 4-2-3. So
you weren't supposed to actually put that up. I forgot to text you.
You didn't actually send me numbers, so
I forgot. It was a placeholder, and I totally forgot about it. Oops. Anyway.
I mainly just did it to poke some fun at you. I know you have actual picks for the race. If you want to text me those, I'll add those in. As Maggie, we'll talk about the morning line favorite in the number 3 Sierra Leone. Who I'm sure you've seen a lot of her in the paddock being New York based, or a lot of him in the paddock being New York based.
Okay.
I'm all over the place. What's the difference in maturity that you've seen from 3 to 4 with this horse? Because obviously he had some issues with the lugging in. You had mentioned multiple times on air them changing bits and changing tactics just to try and figure this horse out. It certainly appears that they have.
Yeah, it just has come, I think, with mental maturity. He's always been, they paid a lot of money for this guy, $2.3 million, I believe. So he's always been a very good-looking horse. The physical was always there. As you kind of reference, it's always been more the mental aspect. And, a lot of times it's just kind of getting over that. Now, do they... In the mornings, have they ever, really, I feel like throughout the year, they're just kind of waiting for him to get over that and to learn maybe through racing, because they always played to his idiosyncrasies of never really, making him work outside of horses, making him stay out. They always said, well, he leans in, so we'll just work him on the rail. That's easier. That's going to be better for him. So obviously, they've changed the bit around. The ring bit seems to work best for him. And 2, just learning through racing is what we've basically seen with Sierra Leone, and him not necessarily doing that. So he's a big lug of a horse, and he's just massive. aggressive. So obviously asserting, if you think about horses in a herd situation, they assert their dominance by their size, by just kind of getting on top of other horses, if you lack of a better way to put it. And so I think that's what he was doing, and now he kind of understands his job a bit more. And furthermore, getting paces to close into has certainly been what leads to his success. And now with contrary thinking in here yet again, like we saw in the Whitney, it projects to set up well for him.
It does. You mentioned, the presence of contrary thinking really emphasizes the fact that they're employing that rabbit tactic that they did last time in the Whitney. And love it or hate it, it's a good tactic. It works. And, contrary thinking clearly came out of it in good order, enough to run right back in the Jockey Club Gold Cup. And who knows, maybe he'll, I forget the name of the horse that stole it on turf as a rabbit a couple years ago up at Saratoga for Chad Brown at like 40-something to 1. I want to say Florent Giroux was riding.
It was a filly.
Yep.
She was number 6. It was last summer. What was her name?
Yep.
It was last
Idea Generation. Boom.
There it is.
Yeah,
Nice.
I did. That's what it was. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know where else she went. I don't know where she went. But she's not with us anymore.
But she got the win that day. And contrary thinking, he might find himself in a situation where, maybe he is the only one making the pace, and we've seen horses get away before. But either way, with the presence of Phileas Fogg, you have Mindframe, who likes to be forward. White Abaria has been forward in the past. Antiquarian Banishing, who's an interesting entrant that I'm sure we'll talk about. The pace seems to be there, and going 1.25 miles, I think, is Sierra's friend. They could probably go 3 miles, and he would be right at home there with how big of a frame he is. Thank you for all that insight. Megan, we'll go to you to talk about your top pick in the race, the number 4 Mindframe for Todd Pletcher and Rapoli. He sends the other main name in that stable out to our neck of the woods, Jackson, to run in the Pacific Classic. But Megan, take it away for the number 4 Mindframe.
Yeah, he's splitting them up. And I kind of figured Mindframe would probably end up here. But listen, I kind of explained this on the show a couple of days ago when we kind of talked about him. And I think that he's just breathing very rare air. This is not it's not normal for a horse to win a grade 1 at 7 furlongs and then to turn around and win the Stephen Foster. I don't think it's been done in 25 years. I don't think it's been done actually. Don't quote me, but that's just something that's just not done. And this horse, I think that you could maybe make an argument against the distance, whatever it might be. But I mean, look at him in the Belmont. Look at his longer races, especially. I mean, I know you're anybody but Mindframe up there, Jackson. So I have a little bone to pick with you. I'm kidding. I love the discourse. I love the discourse. But he's probably, I said this on the show, he's probably one of my favorite horses in training. He's so versatile. He is a horse that at the beginning of the year, I was on the Jackson train. I did not like the way he ran in Florida. I thought he was kind of won that race by default a bit. He wasn't all that, he just didn't, his stride and the way he finished that race, I thought, he won, he got it done. Jury's still out for me on him earlier in the year. But as the year has gone on, for him to beat that kind of field, Nisos, those kinds of horses going the 7 furlong, something that I think those horses are very good at doing. He beats some quality sprinters, then he turns around and beats Sierra Leone and the Stephen Foster. I just think that he's going to get the right kind of trip here yet again. And listen, Sierra Leone, yes, he's got his rabbit, he's got his friend in this race, but still, I think that in terms of his production in a grade 1 level against this group, to do it again is also a question for me. He gets the right on paper kind of scenario, but he's also a horse that, yes, he was brave and he might have taken some dirt and had that long run in the Whitney, but I don't know if I trust him to come right back and do it again, just off of some of his quirkiness, maybe off of some of just the way he is in general. And trust me, like, I was on the Sierra Leone train. I love the horse. He's very talented. I've been on his train since the Remsen. I thought that was just one of the most impressive 2-year-old performances I've seen in quite some time. And that was obviously very formful considering what Dornoch did. But Mindframe for me is just the horse to beat in this race. It's a competitive field. And I think that just the way his form and how he's carried himself into this race, I think he's, especially kind of the distance between races as well. I like the spacing. I love him here. I know me and Jackson differ on that, but I really like him here. And Highland Falls is another horse that ran lights out last time out of the Whitney and is one that I also think could be tactical and potentially scare Sierra Leone as well. So Sierra Leone's good at being second and third. I will say that. And I don't know if I exactly trust him to back that up. And yet another grade 1 in this quality of field, especially with a horse that has already beaten him this year.
You will be taking a short price on Sierra Leone. And Mindframe does have the 2-0 advantage over Sierra in head-to-head matchups so far. I believe this is the first time this is the second time they'll be going the 1.25 miles. But before I give it to you, Jackson, to go with this anyone but Mindframe, Maggie, based on the physical makeup of Mindframe, do you think that the 10 furlongs is more of his friend, or do you think that he might be, maybe better suited going the 8 or 9 furlong distance?
No, I said it before the Belmont last year that he surprised me with how big he actually was and how much length there was to his frame. So it lent itself well to the 1.25 miles. I really have. I honestly, I am so going to be a chalk eating weasel when it comes to this Whitney. I have Sierra Leone on top, and do I think that Mindframe is? Do I have any knocks against that Mindframe? No, not at all. I do think Highland Falls will run well here, but to answer your question, no. I think 1.25 miles is absolutely fine for him. And look, I say that picking him in the race at Churchill going the 7/8.
That is an excellent answer. And now I will turn it over to you, Jackson. Why do you not like Mindframe?
Look, Mindframe he's really, really good. I have no issue with him whatsoever. He's going to win the Breeders' Cup. It's just going to be going 8 furlongs. It's not going to be going 10. I said it after the Stephen Foster. He's not going to be Sierra Leone again. Sierra Leone ran so much better than he did in the Foster. I mean, that was a perfect trip in the Foster. You could not have drawn up a better trip in that race for Mindframe when they went, I think it went 47 and 4.5. They were crawling up front. He had a 5-length head start on him. And Sierra Leone, he made his run. Made his run early to get into the race going around the turn, got up to Mindframe's hip, and then Mindframe kicked away. And I thought, okay, this race is over. He's going to win by 6 or whatever. He didn't really do that. He kind of let Sierra Leone come back and get to him late. It was kind of diminishing length. And, I just wasn't that impressed with that. I think with the way the trips those two horses got, I think Sierra Leone ran a lot better than Mindframe did. And I think even the race 2 back on Churchill Downs stakes race, I thought Mindframe was in the best spot the entire time. I mean, the whole race, I'm like, this horse is in the best spot. He's in the best spot. He's in the best spot. And he won the race. To his credit, he won by a nose. And I just think he's not going to get as good of a trip as he's gotten his last couple of races. And even going back to last year, he got really goofy late in the Haskell and in the Belmont. And you can say he got too much thrown at him late or too soon. Maybe that's the reason why you just, had to overcome a lot. But when it happened twice, concerned me a little bit. And then when it happened again in the Stephen Foster, I'm like, I don't think this horse really wants to go. He can go 10 furlongs, but I don't think he's as good going 10 furlongs as he is going, 8 or 9.
Yeah, that's fair. As one of the NYRA desk analysts has said, every horse can get 10 furlongs. It's just dependent on what time they do it. Right. I guess we'll find out this weekend.
The other thing is, last time he had a 5-length head start on Sierra Leone, right? But if there's going to be really as much pace as we're projecting, Mindframe, as versatile as he is, isn't going to be nearly as close as he was last time. He's going to have a 2 or 3-length head start on him into a much faster pace, and I just think Sierra Leone is going to be able to outkick him.
Hey, that's fair. And hey, we won't get too off the rails because you and I are going to have a different debate tomorrow about fierceness running in the Pacific Classic. I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be a ton of fun. Another horse to talk about, Jackson. We'll come back to you, Maggie. There's a handful of horses coming out of the Grade 1 Whitney. One that is not is the number 8 Antiquarian. Another top one. Yeah, the number 8 Antiquarian. I don't have the past performances in front of me. I'm just going purely off memory. Sorry.
He comes out of the Brooklyn.
Yes. Thank you. Comes out of the Brooklyn.
Or the Suburban.
Suburban. Yeah. Okay. Coming out of the Suburban is the number 8 Antiquarian, the other Todd Pletcher entry. What do you make of this one's chances? Kind of a fresh face amongst this group.
I've always liked this horse. He clearly showed he wasn't as good as the Mindframes, the Sierra Leones, the fiercenesses of last year. won the Peter Pan. He got very close to nailing Phileas Fogg in that said Suburban. I was literally just watching the workout between him and Mindframe. And while Mindframe looked, and this is the work two back for each of them, Mindframe looked, really washed out, and the rider just kind of looked awkward on Mindframe. In the end, he galloped out better than Antiquarian. I still think, I like him, and obviously distance isn't really a question with him. I just think time and time again he's shown that he's a notch below these top horses.
He has, and we've talked a lot about the pace scenario in the Whitney and kind of what we expect to see again in the Jockey Club with the presence of contrary thinking. You have Phileas Fogg, who likes to be forward, and the 1, 2, 3 finishers are now drawn 1, 2, 3 in the Gold Cup. I thought the number 1 Disarm was a little bit interesting. I did, I respect Highland Falls for what he did, but Megan, you brought up some good points. He's a little bit odd. I think that race was towards an outlier more than kind of what I've seen in form in terms of consistency with Highland Falls. But Disarm always seems to run his race the farther they go. So I thought the one Disarm was a little interesting. I don't know if you or Megan have any thoughts on him.
I will say last time they made a real conscious effort to try to assuage a lot of the studdish, the unfocused nature of Disarm. And it actually paid off because they kept him clear on the other side of the paddock. I never saw him acting badly, if you can follow my line without me saying it. And never heard him, never saw him turn a hair. And it followed out into the racetrack as well. And I think that's what they had been striving to get this horse to do because, so often he'll lose his race per se prior to even going in the starting stalls. So I think that if they do that again, if he keeps it together, he has shown that there is ability in there. But again, I still feel like he's just a cut below. I really think, the top 3 and even like Highland Falls, is he quite as good? I don't know. He got close. I think
I would say Highland Falls, you can make a pretty good case ran the best race last time. I mean, that race completely collapsed. Fierceness, he was right next to Fierceness the entire time. We saw how bad Fierceness finished up the track. Highland Falls, he stood on pretty well in that race. And that was probably,
I just didn't love him because the prep race was a walk in the park. He was with the racetrack.
Right.
You know what I mean? But Brad kept telling me, like every time I interviewed him, asked him before the Whitney, he's like, I love the way this horse is training. And he showed it.
I wonder if Highland Falls really just loves Saratoga. We saw what he did in this race last year when Flavien Prat gave one of the best rides of the year and took it to Arthur's ride, put him off his game, and then that ultimately got Highland Falls in the winner's circle. And then last race in the Whitney, you mentioned, he really hung in there as everything else kind of collapsed around him. I want to talk quickly about the number 9 Banishing, who just ran in the Charlestown Classic last week and has entered again in here. I believe he has 13 starts with David Jacobson now. This is going to be start number 14. And he's really danced every dance from the 7 furlongs Churchill Downs to the, the 4-turn Charles Turn Classic. And now he'll be going the 1.25 miles about a week later. What do you make of the number 9 Banishing? I'll leave that kind of open to everybody.
We'll see if he runs. We'll see if he, makes it into the starting gate. He's so cool. Don't get me wrong.
It's cutting out a bit.
I'm not taking anything away from him whatsoever. I think he's amazing, but it's a tall task.
It is a tall task to go right out to 10 furlongs off that Charlestown Classic victory, and he has been so heavily campaigned this race. If he does make the gate, obviously that's good news. It's another horse in a very competitive field, and it's just really cool getting to watch him kind of do his thing. Before we wrap it up with Jockey Club Gold Cup thoughts, we did mention a little bit about Fierceness. Jackson, you mentioned him and Highland Falls kind of sat in a similar place, and we won't go too off the rails here because we'll save most of that conversation for tomorrow. But Maggie, you've seen Fierceness a lot in the paddock and pre-race. Is there anything that maybe tips his hand to him being on that day or being off that day? Do you think it's how do you make heads of tails of him as a racehorse?
It's so situational within the race. Look, I mean, he acted up badly before the Jim Dandy last year.
Or the Whitney. Or, yeah.
No, last year he was a
I think so,
3-year-old.
right?
What? He didn't act up before the Whitney.
Did you? I remember seeing him in the stall. He was kicking. I was scared Todd was going to get just hammered in the stall.
No. That is when that.
Maybe I'm thinking about something different.
No, hold on. That's when the golf cart crashed into the saddling stalls because a drunk guy did it. And Todd was like, and Fierceness, rightfully so, because so did Contrary Thinking.
Gosh.
Launched out of it because it literally crashed into the back.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so excused.
That's
what was good.
Okay. I didn't see that part. I was like offset, but I was kind of saw it. I remember going off the desk. Yeah, I remember coming off the desk and I said, Todd's going to have to go to the hospital. This horse is going to nail him. And he was backed into the corner of the stall. And I thought he was, for some reason, I was like, I didn't see all of that take place. I didn't see everything in the paddock, but I can't believe that happened. Oh my God.
Well, if you go back and watch the show, I said, wow, we just had a really loud accident here in the paddock. It's like, because there was a bus and I thought the bus because that's all I could see. I thought the bus had crashed into the back of the saddling stalls, but no, it was a guy trying to remove a golf cart that wasn't even his because he was mad that his car was backed in. In long story short, he shouldn't have been driving anything with wheels, operating any sort of machinery. So anyway, that's what Fierceness. Now, before the Jim Dandy last year, he did act up, but he doesn't like a lip chain. So they often just bring him in with no halter, just the bridle and the chain over his nose connecting to either side of his bit. That's what he behaves with. And so that's how he should be. No, it's purely what happens within the race because in the Whitney, Contrary Thinking missed the break. And so therefore he kind of rushed up outside of him and it set him off. He just needs to break, be in his bubble per se, not have anybody interfere with it. He's very temperamental. Not have anybody interfere with him. And so just get in his own rhythm, I think, is the key to success with Fierceness and not have to be run off his feet, not play anybody else's game, like we saw in that Ali Shiva.
Perfect. That is, I asked about the paddock because Jackson and I will likely be down in there getting to see all these horses beforehand. So I just wanted to see if there's anything in particular to look out for Fierceness. But it sounds like we share the same opinion that a lot of his inconsistencies come on the racetrack. So he likes to, be in his little bubble and have his way. But Jackson, I can see the look in your face. You and I will get into this tomorrow night. As we wrap up the show, Maggie, Megan, thank you both for taking the time out of your very busy schedules. I know you, Maggie, you were again doing everything at Saratoga, and Megan, you're staying busy with travel to and from Kentucky, or to and from Saratoga, I should say. I look forward to seeing both of you guys back on the desk, and hopefully out here come Breeders' Cup.
Well, thank you guys so much for having both of us, and it was great chatting with you. And unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to make the Breeders' Cup this year. So anyway.
That's too bad. Jackson and I will make the one in New York when Belmont is done. I'm sure we'll be out at there because that's going to be a spectacle to see. You guys have to be excited to see how the new Belmont's progressing.
So excited! I'm so happy not to get on the Belt Parkway.
I haven't even been up there yet. I mean, I kind of feel like the outlier. I mean, to not even have seen the old Belmont and then to potentially, go up to the new one is going to be kind of crazy. But yeah, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it. I loved it. Loved getting to chat all things Saratoga with you guys. It was a lot of fun.
That was great. As Saratoga wraps up this weekend, obviously hope for a successful weekend for all of you guys, and hope you guys get a nice, week or two off to relax before we're back at Belmont at the Big A for the fall meet. So, Jackson, any parting words from you before we wrap this show up?
Nope. Going to be a really fun weekend. Looking forward to it.
Going to be a ton of fun. The Jockey Club Gold Cup is going to be run on Sunday, and then all three graded stakes that Megan, Jackson, and myself previewed, and Maggie for the Grade 1 Spinaway are going to be run on Saturday. Grade 1 Hopeful is on Monday, but they haven't drawn that yet, so we didn't preview that. But keep an eye out for myself, Jackson, Kaylee doing a show later on this week. I've been your host, Ryan. This is the Gallop Out. Thank you guys. Have a good rest of your week.